This is part 1 of a 2-part series on how to install and configure the iSeries tank monitor system, the best and most accurate tank monitor system in the industry, manufactured by TechEdge Manufacturing. Please see the link in the description for part 2. If you are purchasing or have purchased the full iSeries kit, it includes the iSeries tank monitor panel, 3 exterior Moda sensors for non-metallic tanks, 13.5 feet of aluminum tape, a half-amp fuse assembly, 12 butt connectors, 4 faceplate screws, installation instructions and warranty information. If you have metallic tanks or tanks that are not accessible on the sides, you will need to custom order rods to fit the height of your tank. Some additional items you may need for the installation are 18-gauge hookup wire, enough for 2 runs from each tank to the monitor panel, and 1 run from each tank to ground. Different color wires for different runs will make it easier for hookup and diagnosing. 12-volt power source, for example, your RV or boat battery. Something to cut a hole in the wall where you will be installing your monitor panel, such as a jigsaw. A screwdriver or power drill to mount the faceplate. An 1/8-inch drill bit for a pilot hole for the faceplate screws. Crimpers for the butt connectors. Additional butt connectors or wire nuts may be needed. Razor blade to trim the foil. Isopropyl alcohol to clean the tank for tape application. Choose a panel location that is convenient to see and reach, that does not interfere with drawers, cabinets, existing wiring, etc. You must also consider the fact the wires must be routed from the panel to your tanks as well as to your power source. Make certain the proposed wiring routes are not blocked by wall stringers or other structural supports. Use the cutout guide in the installation instructions. Mark holes on the corners of the area to be cut as well as where the screws are to be drilled. Draw your cutout line and cut your hole. If you'd rather not cut up your installation guide, make a 100% copy of the cutout guide and use that instead. Install sensors on the tanks. Clean the tank. Clean the side of the tank with isopropyl alcohol where you will install the sensor. It must be free of all dirt and debris. If you have walls that are not very smooth, you may want to sand them down a bit to make them smoother. Measure the height of the tank. Cut 2 strips the same length as the height of the tank. Make sure to account for the thickness at the top and bottom of the tank. Do not run the foil on any rounded edge on the top or bottom due to the possibility of creating a peeling point on the tape. Foil requirements. Aluminum tape should start approximately 2 inches apart for the whole height of the tank. This is a starting point but may change after you do your first calibration check. You can do adjustments on the tape if your calibration numbers are not far enough apart for empty and full. See the notes in your manual. If you have a shorter tank, you may find it will work better with the strips closer together. Taller tanks usually work with the tape a little further apart. Thicker tanks need the tape further apart and use more foil. Mark the top and bottom of the tank with consistent spacing. You want at least 15 to 40 square inches of foil on each strip. Once again, this can be modified after the installation and during testing. Install your tape. Install your aluminum tape. Make sure the tape is completely flat. Attach the motor sensor. It doesn't matter where you install the motor sensor's copper foil on the aluminum tape. Peel the back of the copper foil and carefully apply it to the aluminum foil, avoiding any creases or bubbles. Place 1 on each strip. If you have excess copper foil off the edge of your aluminum strip, trim it with a razor blade. Peel off the back of the sensor and stick it to a clean surface on the tank. If you would prefer, you can stick the tape to the wall of the tank before peeling the backing off with blue painter's tape to find the location and do your testing, but this is not necessary. You can tack the copper foil on with just a corner to get the electrical connection you need for testing. Custom rods. For metal tanks or tanks that are not easily accessible on the outside, you will need to order a PVC rod or a diesel fuel sensor rod. Aluminum rods are used for diesel fuel tanks, and PVC rods are used for water and holding tanks. To measure the height of the rod, measure from the top of the outside of the tank to the bottom of the inside minus about ½ inch. You do not want the rods touching the bottom of the tank. Please take into account any adapters you may need to install a 1-inch pipe thread for the PVC rod. All rods have the same 3 wires as the Moda sensors. They are connected and calibrated the same way. Run your wires. If you have wiring that is already run through your walls and you would like to use those, you can do that. If your wiring setup is different than the following required setup and you have no way to run additional wires, you are welcome to call our tech support to see if there is a workaround for your setup. Run your wires. The red wire with the crimp on the wire harness attaches to either side of the power switch. The fuse assembly with the crimp attaches to the other post on the power switch. Wire the other end of the fuse assembly to your positive 12-volt battery lead. The black wire from the wire harness on the panel runs to your negative battery lead or to a good ground. Wire the Moda sensors at each tank. Each tank sensor connects to a different pair of colors at the panel. Each set of colors has 2 wires, one with the red stripe and one with the blue stripe. These run to the Moda sensors' red and blue wires. Tank 1 is yellow, Tank 2 is orange, Tank 3 is purple, etc. There is also a black wire on each Moda sensor. This wire needs to be grounded, run back to the black wire on the panel, or the negative on your 12-volt system. All black wires can be attached and grounded together. If the ground comes loose, the tanks that are attached to that ground will read full all the time. You can check this on the calibration option in the menu. If your calibration live reading is 255 or close to it, you probably have a bad ground. Resistive sensors. Note that on a standard iSeries panel, tanks 7 and 8 are only for use with resistive sensors, such as those found in propane tanks pre-equipped with a 90 ohm sending unit or other resistive sensors like float sensors. If you would like an iSeries panel that can use all 8 tanks with standard Moda sensors or interior rods, you can order the Integrity 8 version with that modification. To hook up a propane tank that is pre-equipped with a 90 ohm sending unit, use a pair of wires for either tank 7 or 8. Wire the pair together and connect them to the wire running from the 90 ohm sending unit on your LP tank. The standard program setup for resistive sensors has the low ohm setting for empty and the high ohm setting for full. For example, 0 to 240 ohms, where 0 is empty and 240 is full. Some resistive sensors have that reversed, with the high ohm setting is empty and the low ohm setting is full. If this is the case for your sensor, we have a datasheet on our website at www.tankedge.com. On the tech support page, under resistive sensors, you can find the instructions for an inverted resistive sensor. Exposed wires. After the wiring is complete, if you have exposed wires on the pigtail that you are not using, please cut those off and wrap them individually with electrical tape. You do not want these wires touching even if they are not in use. Leave the main portion of the wires intact in case you add more tanks later. You are now ready to screw the panel to the wall and power on the unit. After you have fully installed your system, you can do the setup programming and calibration described in part 2 of this video series. Please note that everything discussed in this video is included in the manual that comes with the iSeries tank monitor panel. There is a comprehensive troubleshooting guide available in the manual with testing procedures that can be performed with a voltmeter. If you have troubleshooting needs or tech support questions that are not answered with the manual, please visit our website at www.tankedge.com. If you feel your questions are still not answered there, please feel free to call our tech support line at 541-610-0401. Once the monitor is installed correctly, we know that you will find it to be the most accurate tank monitor system on the market today. Please let us know if we can help you with any other questions or concerns. Thank you.